Hi everyone, welcome to Product Office Hours. Today, 19th of November. With us today, we've got Matt and Vedanti. They are part of the PSA team, and they're going to be talking about the service catalog today. So Matt will be presenting, and Vedanti will be answering your questions. Before they get started, I'm just going to go through a few points first. So if you haven't been to one of these sessions before, the idea of Product Office Hours is to basically open up a bit of time every week where the product teams from ConnectWise, we can show you either new releases that have come out recently or just best practices and practical guides for using popular and useful features, even if they've been around for a while. And it's a chance for you to ask us questions and give us feedback. The idea being that we can find out what you're interested in, find out what you're confused by, and basically more quickly get your feedback and make best products for you. So we do this every week, or almost every week, and it's usually one presentation from like a particular product and a particular topic within that. So just a few key points about how this will work in general. This is being recorded automatically. Everyone who signed up, so if you're watching this live, you will get an email automatically in about a day or two with the recording. And if you ever need to find this recording later, or you want to see what else we've done in this series before, we have a playlist. So the ConnectWise YouTube channel has a playlist particularly for Product Office Hours. And if you want to get signed up for future ones, if you go to the ConnectWise University and you look at the calendar that's in the resources section, we have all of these, as soon as they're arranged, they're listed in there with the sign up link, as are other webinars and other sorts of events. And yeah, any technical issues, I don't think we get too many of those, but there's a couple of kind of tips for GoToWebinar that might help. First, just the typical stuff with anything online, restarting the browser, restarting your Wi-Fi connection. The other thing we tend to find helps is if you download like the desktop client for GoToWebinar, that can be a little bit more robust sometimes. And then the last one, which is really important actually, you'll see here there is a chat and there is a questions. Questions obviously has the question mark logo in the top right. Please put your questions in the questions section. It's much better for us in terms of being able to answer you kind of directly and keep them all organized. It's also better because we automatically get a record of all those questions when the session ends. So if there's anything that we can't get to today while this is going on live, we can follow up with you later. So questions, not chat. We can skip that. And just to give you a quick chance, if you want to use your phone to snap the QR code here, that'll take you to the ConnectWise YouTube channel. But you can also just go to YouTube and search ConnectWise. And as for what else is coming up, obviously we're almost at the end of November now, but we do have one more session that's also going to be for PSA. This time it's going to be ticketing, and it's going to be about RMM and PSA unified ticketing experience. That's actually a really big, exciting topic. And as I say, registration links, you can find those in the university calendar. We'll also have another QR code to sign up to that next session. So at this point, I'm going to hand over. And Matt, you please take away from here. And then when you're ready to share your screen for the live demo, just let me know and I'll stop sharing the slide.
All right, thanks, Evan. Hello, everybody. My name is Matt Skirty. I am a product manager for ConnectWise PSA. So want to run through some of the features within our PSA end user portal, mainly around building a service catalog. So the end user portal, if you are not familiar with it, is a place for your customers to go and essentially create tickets, review existing tickets, review some of the project work that's being done, review any agreement hours that they may have to see how many hours they have left, how many they've used up. They're also able to pay invoices through the portal. So it's really the one main place where you should direct your customers to review any updates that you may have provided regarding the services you're providing. So with the service catalog, this essentially is a way that you are able to define different types of tickets to be created. So within the catalog, essentially what we would do is we would create different categories and then a different catalog item for all of the different types of issues or requests an end user may have. And we'll walk through kind of creating the different categories and different forms. But mainly what we're going to touch on is really how to create a service catalog item, as well as how to add dynamic capabilities to the web forms, and then also defining who is able to view certain catalog items. So what I'll do now is I'll just go ahead and start sharing. And from there, we'll walk through how we actually create those catalog items. Okay, it is this one here. Yep. Okay, great. So there's two sides to the portal. There is an admin side where you guys will be accessing to configure different elements for the portal. And then we have the end user side. So this is just a quick glimpse on the admin side. We have an area where you could set up different portals. So if you have different URLs you want to set up for different companies or different regions, you're able to do that. But what we're going to focus here on is the service catalog. So within the service catalog, we're able to create different categories. Now the categories are more broader areas that we would want to set up so that we can then add the different catalog items into. What this allows us to do is not only have better organization for ourselves, but for the end user, it'll allow them to navigate more easily to an item that they need to find when they're submitting a request. So for the example here, I have a category called service issues, and I wanted to create a service catalog item for a server down. So when I do that, I create a new item. Well, I'm just going to edit the existing one for now, just so we can walk through it quicker. But essentially, it'd be the same exact steps if we were creating a new one. We'd come in and we'd name it first off. Now, this name is for our purposes internally only, just so that we know what type of catalog item we're creating. And then from here, the dropdown, we could select which category we want to assign that to. So I only have 3 categories, but you could add as many categories as you would like. So I assigned it to the service issue category so that when my customer is coming to the portal, they're first presented with the list of categories. As you can see here, if I log into the portal, when I go to submit a new ticket, I will first be presented with, oops, sorry, oh boy. I was just logged in, sorry about that. So as that loads up, like I said, the first thing they'll be presented with is the list of categories, so that when I create a new ticket, I can say, well, I know this is a service issue, or I know this is more of a new order that I want to place. Maybe I onboarded a new employee. I need to order, a new laptop. Maybe it's some new licenses for them. So the category allows them to quickly select something so that they can get to the proper service catalog items. So once I select the category, I can then define some of the parameters that I want to be set on the ticket when it gets created in my PSA. So for now, I just selected the help desk service board. I could set my status, the type on the ticket, and the subtype, and I could also set the item if I want. Now, I can set these myself. I can also make these visible to the customer so that if they want to select the type of ticket based on their issue, they can do that. For something like this, I don't need them to select it. If it was more of a general issue, I would allow them to select the type and subtype so that they could categorize what their issue is. But since I know if a server down comes in, I want it to be set to this type and this subtype. And then from there, I would set my priority, right? I want this to be a critical since it's a server down. And then we've recently added these 2 fields here, site and contact. What this allows me to do is it allows me to add the site dropdown and the contact dropdown on the new ticket creation form. So this is helpful if you have a customer that has multiple offices, and maybe one of the people is spanning across multiple offices. They're overseeing multiple offices. So if a ticket needs to be created, they can then select which office or site the ticket is related to. Also, they could select the point of contact. Maybe they're not at that actual location, so they might assign somebody who is overseeing that specific location to the ticket, so that when a ticket gets created, they're the point of contact. And then lastly, for the initial setup is this service approval section. Now, this is something we added last year. This allows you to actually require approval for a ticket to be worked prior to it actually being assigned to somebody on your team. So what we would do for this if we wanted to, now we wouldn't do this for a server down, but if this was more of like I'm placing a new order for like a new laptop, I might want approval from an admin at the customer side before we actually start processing that. So if you turn this on, you can select a unapproved status, meaning whenever the ticket gets submitted, I want it to go to this specific status. And what that would do is I would set it to unapproved, and then I would set my service board in PSA to not show this ticket on the service board, so that a technician doesn't pick it up, right? And then I would set my approved status and my rejected status. And what happens here is once a admin approves the ticket in the portal, it will then be updated to whatever status you have assigned here. But if they reject it, it'll then be set to this status. So if a standard user submits a ticket and you have this turned on, it would require the admin to essentially approve the ticket in the portal before it gets updated to one of these statuses so that it shows up for the team to work. Let me just try and sign in real quick here so I could kind of give you an idea of what that looks like. And again, apologies, I was just signed in right before we hopped on this call here. All right, so as you can see here in my open tickets section, there's this little yellow indicator. This indicates that this ticket is waiting for approval. You could also see here on the right here, the ticket is technically in the unapproved status. So me as an admin, if I'm logging into the portal, I could see, hey, this ticket needs my attention. And then from here, I can click on the ticket, and then I have the ability to approve or reject the ticket, right? And basically what that does is it just updates the ticket status, and then it allows, if you have your PSA configured in the way I mentioned, it would allow that ticket to show up on the board. Now, since these are statuses on the PSA ticket, you could set up status notifications, right? So if I have this unapproved status created, I would set up a status notification to also email the ticket admin at that location, so that not only are they being made aware within the portal, they're also being emailed about it, because they might not be logging into the portal every single day. So you would still be able to send them that email letting them know, hey, a ticket has been submitted. You need to go review it. Okay. But for this example, we're going to leave it off just because we're assuming that the person submitting the ticket is going to be an admin. All right. And like I mentioned real quick before, when we submit a new ticket, these are the categories. Like I said, these are the things we're presented with first so that you could see those are the categories being assigned to the service catalog item. So what I did was after I'm done filling in these fields on this page, I would click on this arrow and then go next, because I want to actually start filling in some of the fields, right? So what I have here is you enter in a page title. I put who to contact because the first thing I want to capture here is what site and what contact are, who should I be contacting for this issue, right? And these fields show because on the previous page, if you recall, I had the site and the contact made as visible with these toggles here. If I didn't have these selected, then they would not show up on this next page. But I want to capture that information, so I'm making sure that I am doing that here. And then you'll see here that I have a page break. Now, if you scroll all the way down, you could add new pages so that once they fill in this information, they could click a next button, and then they would be brought to a separate page with more information. So I'm trying to collect some information regarding the server. So I want to add the server brand, the model number, and with these, I could actually enter in placeholder text. So you can see it. So as you can see here, I want them to just enter the brand of the server. And then further down here, I have the operating system field and OS version field, the ID tag, because most of the time, we're going to put an ID tag on that server so that we could quickly know what specific device it's related to. I want them to enter any error messages shown. If they have any relevant screenshots or images, they could attach them here, right? So now that I have all that in, I want to start adding some dynamic controls to it, right? So on the next page, this is where we start getting into some of the dynamic controls. I have the ability to control the summary line of the ticket when it gets created. So for this specific issue, I have the summary line start with server down, and then I'm able to actually capture some of the control fields. So if you type in the @ symbol, it gives you a list of the different fields that we added on the previous screen. So what I captured here is the site, so that I know, oh, this is related to the main site or the offsite. And then I started capturing some of the server information, like the brand, the model number, and then the error message shown. So that allows me to have more information in the actual summary line of the ticket, so that if I know one of my technicians works certain types of tickets, maybe related to Windows, I know this is a Windows ticket based off of the summary line, I could automatically assign to him versus someone who's working more maybe like a Linux server. But you have that custom ability there, so you can pull in that data from those fields you have listed. Now, the next piece I want to go into is actually controlling who can see that catalog item when they go to create the ticket, right? So I could come into the audience tab and set it to be a custom audience. So the first piece I can control is based on the user's role. So whoever's logging into the portal, I only want ticket managers and full admins to be able to see this server down catalog item. So I don't want standard users, ticket read only, or billing admins to be able to submit a server down. It really should only be like a manager at that location. And then you also have the ability, if you're using multiple portals, you could select which portal it shows up for. And then we'll start to get into the actual controlling if it's if it needs to only be displayed for certain companies or certain locations. So the audience I'm looking at here is I want to make sure that it's not visible to someone at a certain company. So for this audience, I selected company, I set the state is not equal to, and I set ConnectWise, because if I'm working with somebody from the ConnectWise team, maybe on a support ticket, they're in my portal, helping out with some things. I don't want them to be accidentally submitting a server down if they're doing some testing, because I know that server downs, we have certain processes in place that kick off automation, and I just don't want them to trigger that, right? But then also, I want to make sure that the company that is submitting it is set to the USA territory. So I select the location and then is equal to USA. Now I could select multiple other locations as well if I wanted. So Miami, Tampa, USA. So you have that ability to control which companies have access to see this service catalog item, right? And then we'll get into the actual showing and hiding of certain fields. So when I am building out my form, if you recall, I added a a server brand, and then also a model number, right? So if the condition I have set up here is that if the server brand is filled in, well, then I'm going to show the model number field. But if they don't ever fill in the server brand, the model number field may not be relevant, right? Because then it's not technically needed, right? As an example, now you could have so many more use cases for this, but this is just a simplistic use case for this example. So you have the ability to show or hide certain fields. So what I did is I went in and selected my server brand field, but I could have selected any of the other fields on that form. And then I set it to is filled, but I could also say it contains a certain value or has a certain value. So for instance, on the operating system field that I added, if the operating system field is filled in, the action that I'm going to do is show the operating system or the operating system version field, right? So similar to the operating system or the brand field, right? But like I said, you could always say it's equal to something. So my operating system field was a drop down. So if I wanted to set this to ensure that if it's only set to Windows, then we would show a certain field. Maybe we had some additional fields we wanted to capture additional information based on that Windows operating system. You would be able to do that, right? So the showing and hiding is pretty important, and it's very valuable, especially when you want to make sure that you're capturing specific data based on other criteria selected in some of your other fields. We'll just cancel that for now. Oop. Yep. So that's the showing and hiding. Now, we also have the ability to pre-populate and update fields, right? So let's say for the server brand, right? So if I entered the word Dell for my server brand, what I'm going to do is actually pre-populate the model number field. So similar to the showing and hiding, I have the ability to select a field. So I selected the server brand. And then for my state, I put contains, but I could have selected any of these other ones. And then based on this is, you have the ability to do a user defined value, meaning I'm just going to free type in some text, but then you also have the ability to use the values copied from fields. And what that does is it allows me to use some of those tokens, right? So I'm looking at the model number field, and what's going to happen is if again you enter in that @ symbol, it allows you to pull in the value from some of those other fields. So I entered in the @ server brand, and as you can see here, what's going to happen is it's going to pull the word Dell in and put it before PowerEdge. So it just allows you to capture information and put it into other fields to help ensure that you're gathering proper data and it's accurate data. Okay, we'll go ahead and cancel that. And then from there, that's it. I would just publish this form, right? So that my customers could start using it. So let's just make sure it's published. All right, so that's under service issues. I'm gonna refresh here. Make sure I have my, all right, so when I go to submit a new ticket, like I said, here's my different categories. It was under service issues, and you could see the server down is displayed here. So as an admin, I'm coming in, I know it's related to the main site, and I want Jim to be the point of contact on the ticket. So when that ticket gets created, the site gets set as the main site, Jim gets added as the contact. So they're not contacting me about it, they're contacting Jim because he's actually on site and is able to help. And again, so here's that server brand field. If I enter the word Dell in, as you can see, the model number automatically populated that value that I set up. Now I could come in and change that to, maybe something else if I wanted to, but it just allows it to help get information in there more quickly for the customer so that they don't have to type things in. Maybe they don't know what it is. Maybe you only provide certain server models, and so which one is going to be provided for that customer. So you could automatically have it updated. And then the operating system, we have, as you can see, there's no operating system version field here, but once I go in and select it, I have my operating system version field now. And as you can see, I set up that Windows to have the pre-populate field. So it's pre-populated to server 2025. Again, I know that I updated all of my servers to server 2025. So I'm just going to have that automatically in there because although I know it, it's still important to capture this information on the ticket, right? And then that ID tag, like I said, I might want to capture the ID tag, enter in error messages, and attach any screenshots. And so as the so that ticket gets created from here. And then once we see that, you'll see that it's created here, it's assigned to Jim, and it's set to the main site. And all of that information that I added was captured in here. So like I said, yes, I know all my servers might be on the same operating system version. I might know that they're all Windows, but it's still important to capture on the ticket sometimes if, you might be, maybe for the off chance you do start servicing other servers, right? And so just want to kind of highlight, like we talked about, we have the server down created under this category, but we set up those stipulations so that it only shows for certain audiences, right? So if I log into my Eurovision company, which is not in the USA or Tampa, it is being filtered out. So this company technically isn't seeing it, right? Same thing for the ConnectWise company, since if I log in under my ConnectWise company, I also am not seeing it because I set the audience to exclude the ConnectWise company. So that's what I wanted to run through today, kind of just give you an overview of how you set up the dynamic forms and fields and capture your audiences and ensure that the proper people are seeing it and you're capturing the proper information. Wanted to kind of touch on a few questions real quick if we can, if we have time, Evan. Vedanti, did you have a...
Yeah, we've got, 3 minutes to
Yeah.
time to
So
probably
there are
answer one or
some
two.
questions. Yeah, there are some questions that are related to the approver getting an email, whether they have, do they receive an email when a ticket is submitted?
So the way they would receive the ticket, the email, is through the status notifications you set up in PSA. So if you have your unapproved status set up to send out an email to, let's say, like the primary contact, then it would send out the email. So that it doesn't send it from the portal. It technically, since it creates the ticket in PSA, it sends it out through PSA. I see a question about the URL. We currently don't have the ability to customize like the suffix of the URL. Really, we still only have the ability to customize the prefix of it, so it will always end in my portal login. I think we're almost out of time though. But guys, what we'll do is we have all the questions in the chat. We'll take the time, we'll answer the questions, and we'll send an email out to you to get all of those questions answered. And then if you have any follow-ups, we could definitely follow up from there. All right, Evan.
Okay, thanks, Matt. And thanks to Vedanti, who's been answering the questions as well. So we have another of these coming up next week. And that's going to be the PSA and RMM ticketing. Looking ahead, or looking at that project. And I'm just trying to bring up my screen share now for the link view. It's being a little bit slow. if you go into the ConnectWise University, go to resources and then calendar in there, we have all the session links available. And I think it should now finally be on your screen. So if you want to quickly snap that QR code, that will also take you directly to the registration page for that RMM and PSA ticketing experience. And thanks everyone for your time today. And a couple of people had asked in the chat. I think I managed to reply to you all in the Q&A, sorry. But if you joined late, don't worry, this is all recorded. If you were signed up, you get sent a recording automatically. And if for any reason you don't get that, just head over to the ConnectWise channel on YouTube, and there is a product office hours playlist that this will be added there. We're usually pretty quick at that. And if it's not today, it'll definitely be tomorrow. So don't worry, you can go back and watch the whole thing from the beginning. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.